So about the transition. All right. Happy Thursday, everybody. How's everybody feeling? Feeling good? Thumbs up. Just a little bit of heads up. Many of you probably saw some of Jen's content from Manifest Your Best 2022. She ran a little bit over, so I know there are some folks from our class that were participating in that were in person, and we'll probably take a moment or two to make the transition over. But as we do that, we're going to go ahead and jump right in and get started with a couple wins. I want to hear what's kind of going on in your businesses over the past week, and what have we gotten into action around? What takeaways have we had, and how has that shown up in our business? Who would like to share some wins?
I can, I guess. Let me take my headphones set up. I was calling around and I've gotten a lot of properties, which is amazing down here for sale, that aren't selling the first time. So I happened to call somebody the other day, and what they do is they actually they have a group, and it's got even a little clip for listing presentation to send out to the people so that you can put a house on it. So most agents don't know you can do it two ways, right? You have an empty lot, which is only one view, or put a house on it and put it at another price. So you have two views. So not a lot of people down here know that either. So anyway, so I talked to the guy, he's an EXP guy, and he's just like, Debbie, do you want to do this? So, he's going around getting a lot of agents together that will collaborate with him and, do this so that they can build. And then once they build, it's ours to sell. If they do it that way or whatever, we get the commission. So that was a pretty good win.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love it. Prospecting, making calls, and finding the opportunity. That's awesome. Who else? Who else got into action around either prospecting? We've been talking about SOI, which we're actually going to go real deep in today. How about the Valentine's Day pop buys? Anybody start taking action around that as well?
Yeah, Michael, it's Matt here. Yeah, I was able to get some stuff, and I took pictures with my kids, and we're posting that later today. So we're getting into action there. And
cool.
And what I was going to say is I had an idea. I thought of a client the other day when I toured another property with another client, and I sent it to several people. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I sent it to a few people that I was thinking of, and it made me think it's a touch point when I don't know what to say to people when I reach out. When I see a cool house, who doesn't like to see a really cool house? And so I sent it to them to say, hey, I was thinking of you. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, isn't this great? This is one of your neighbors down the street. And it's a reason for them to follow up and for me to give them a call, and it's like a reverse way to touch my database that I'd never done before. And especially if I haven't talked to them in over a year. And so I did that like 6 or 7 times yesterday, and every single person responded, and every single person spoke to me. And so it's just a reason to talk to my sphere of influence, and everyone loves it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great strategy. Actually sending the house. In the past, like another script or conversation I've used is that I was driving through your neighborhood and thinking about you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And whether I was driving or not, I was driving through their neighborhood, or I'm going to be in your neighborhood and thinking about you type thing. So I like how you take it one step further. It's like, there's a cool listing that just came up on your neighborhood. Did you see this? Like, we can send them automated market analysis once a month through different systems or Bright, whatever we want to do. But that actual individual touch, here's a cool listing that popped up in your neighborhood. We see this stuff all the time. We know when it pops up, like, oh, that's near, Carl's house. And then we just go on about our business. What if we took a moment, copied the link, and said, hey, did you see this new listing that just popped up in your neighborhood?
Yeah. Matt, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm literally sitting next to Michael. I'm muted too, so I'm off of his screen. Just want to make sure you can hear me. It's funny. That's an awesome strategy. And I was actually in a neighborhood the other day. I sold this house in Westminster about 6 months ago, and then just sold the neighbor's house 3 doors down for like almost 100K more.
Wow.
And I was on the inspection the other day, and I texted them a picture of their house and of me waving and said, hey, see you guys. And they're like, oh, come on over. We want to show you what we did with the house. They invited me in, and they were showing me all the cool stuff they did to their house. And I was like, you guys just have like $100,000 in equity in 6 months. And they were ecstatic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like that. So yeah, that's great. I love how you got into action with the hearts. We have the same ones, Dollar Tree. They're in our office. They're about to go out as well. I love getting your kids involved with that. And just letting go of any judgment, which I had before of like, oh my God, I'm sending out wooden hearts and paint, and making it about coming from contribution. It's about the kids. The kids can get behind that and really enjoy that. And it becomes a fun little contest. Everybody's looking for craft work to do with their kids most of the time, because, you know, it's very limited on some of the things that used to be available. Debbie's shaking her head no.
Well, because I have a different market. So I don't have kids down here mostly. They're
Right, you got,
retired
like-
adults.
Right.
So what I decided to do was, a friend of mine actually makes cards and I buy cards from her. She actually makes them. So I said, instead of you gluing them together, can you write what it looks like? I'll send a picture and they can put it together, and then they can pay it forward, and I'll ask them to send it to someone that they love. So for Valentine's Day, it's a heart, and so that's what I did.
Okay, that's great. So that the heart was just a suggestion, and whatever that may look like. So, you know, definitely like figure out what is going to appeal to your sphere, and to your database, and do that. All right, cool. So love those stories. We're going to jump right into it, if you guys are all good with that, and talk about sphere today. We're going to talk about how to make it rain, SOI, and what can we do around sphere. So just a friendly reminder, play all in in order to maximize and get the most out of this. We really want to make sure we're, you know, checking the activities. The link was sent out regarding the action items, and then monitoring your results. Most have not completed it yet. Others have, and it's really great to see those that have completed it, the results that they're getting from it. So just a reminder for your script practice, what you're DMing, how to start that blank chat window and start a conversation, whether it's through Messenger, as we've been talking about. Ensure your social posts are having a call to action tied to them. I'm very curious to hear if folks are getting a response from like specific call to actions. Anybody have a success story around that just yet? Continue to post with call to actions and they will come. Develop your listing domination elevator speech. Oh, excuse me. Hold on one second. We're talking about this birthday videos. Has anybody got on birthday videos yet? Cool. Hopefully you got a good response from those. 5 birthday videos, 5 comments on post, and 5 direct messages per day. Audit your social identity, going online, cleaning things up as needed, and confirming participation. So what does that look like? How are we holding ourselves accountable? This is what I was referring to as far as going into the link that we all have, and putting in your activities. You can see on here, some have been completed, others have not. And you know, some of the results that we're seeing already, from appointments to set, appointments held, listing signed. Shout out to Jason for listing signed already. That's awesome. And Mike, 1 listing signed. I know some folks are on the Tom Ferry training now, and they're going to do a rewatch on today. All right, so let's jump in. We're going to get tactical today. A lot of this stuff before was kind of laying the foundation and planting the seed for actual for, you know, the mindset, planning, metrics, everything that we needed to know up until this point. We feel like that is the foundation. And once we have that foundation, now we can get tactical in the different lead sources that are going to help drive our business. So sphere of influence, we've talked about, and everybody on this call knows already that this is going to be your #1 resource for fastest conversion into a transaction for your business. So what is your sphere of influence?
Highest price too.
Yep. And yeah, highest price points. You know,
Yeah.
we tend to find that, you know, who we hang around with and their friends tend to have higher price points than some of the lead sources that we may be getting. So our sphere of influence is someone who would know your name if they heard it, has met us before, likes us, and will like us regardless of whether or not you're in real estate. All right. So we get caught up with this terminology, but it's a met. It's somebody that we know. We've met them. They know they met us. They like us. They know us, like us, and trust us. And they would know you regardless whether it was regarding real estate. Right. So folks that will be able to kind of tout and tell a story to others about you. So why is this important? We shared this before, we're sharing it again to give you a perspective that out of the 212 listings that were taken last year, 69% of them were taken from our sphere. So just such a huge opportunity. It's lower conversion. We've had that conversation. And which means there's less work. This is working smarter, not harder. And it goes back to the conversation, right? Would you rather speak to 1,000 people one time or 100 people 10 times? And we're going to have to make 1,000 touches one way or the other. So how do we want to do that? Do we want to get 1,000 Zillow leads and touch them one time? Because that's what generally we do if they're not ready to buy or sell immediately. It's kind of, out of sight, out of mind. Or do we want to take the top 100 people in our database, our sphere of influence, and find ways of touching them 10 times of adding value and stay in front of mind for them? Because we know every person knows somebody that's going to, 2 people that are going to do a real estate transaction in a year, right? That's a fact. Somebody knows somebody that's going to do 2 real estate transactions, 2 people that will do a real estate transaction within a year. We need to be front of mind. It may not be that person that we're asking for their business. It's the people that they know. All right, so how do we treat our sphere of influence? So we looked back into our history of how we treat our sphere of influence and how we have to show up for them and really, take care of them. So what does that truly mean? This is what we do. We shit on them. All right, we don't shit on them. We do show them love. We have meaningful conversations and we track our follow-up. So it starts with showing them love. So what does that look like to show them love? Are we really interested in them, right? Is it not about us? It's about them. Are we calling and asking questions? How's the fam? We're going to get into some really purposeful scripts to show them love. Are we recognizing them when they're posting stuff on Facebook or Instagram to congratulate them and being genuine and being able to really, come from contribution there? Are we inviting them to events that we're doing? Are we sending them out our Popeyes or craft projects, whatever that thing or the quarter that we're working on? Have meaningful conversations. So, go deep with them, make it about them and their family and being interested in them. And then tracking your follow-up, tracking your next touch dates. These are all very important to be able to shit on them. All right, so where do we find our sphere and build our list? And I'm doing a quick recap of this, but this may also trigger some areas that we're not thinking about. So we're going to start with our phone contacts, and we have a way of exporting our phone contacts on every device. You can certainly Google, whether it's iPhone or Android, how to export your phone contacts and start there. You can also go through your text messages, and usually your sphere are going to be your most recent text messages, even if it's when our phone saved text messages for years. Even if what's in the past year of going back and really spending the time, whether you spend 20 minutes going back to find people that you want to add, if they're not front of mind, make a time block, spend 20 minutes going through your phone to pull people out that you may not have put into your database yet. Family group chats, email chains, address books, email chains. An example of this would be, I play in a softball league and in a poker game on Wednesday nights. And, there are, the organizer sends out an email to all the softball players and all the people playing poker, and I have their emails. They know me, I know them. What do I do with that email chain? I want to put that into my database. I want to put their names into my database. So if you're in any type of extracurricular activity that you have a list of email addresses, that would be a good source of folks that you can, you're doing stuff with them already on your free time. So great opportunity to add them to your database. Your social circles, clubs, organizations that we talked about. I'll also add, if you've ever had a big party, a wedding, a bar mitzvah for your children, whoever, like those invite lists, your family and friends, you want to make sure are added into your sphere of influence. And then we can go one step further to your service network. And if anybody's been familiar with the exercise, like A to Z is like literally finding the attorney, the banker, the car mechanic, literally going down the list and, you know, plugging in who we use. We're giving these people our business. They should be a part of our sphere, and we should be asking them for their business and coming from contribution to them. And we have social media as well. And the idea behind this is we want to get them into our CRM, even if it's an Excel spreadsheet for the time being, or a Google sheet with their name, email, phone number, and address.
Yeah, you kind of jumped over this a little bit, Michael, but like local businesses, how important that really is, and the people that you're frequenting and showing them love, you know, how can we support each other? You know, your local beer store, your local restaurant, hair salon, nail place, your barber shop, like those people are having conversations with people, like hundreds of people every day. So those are huge influencers in your SOI that you can friend and come from contribution, share their business, and help each other.
Is anybody doing this at, you know, right now? Thumbs up, virtual thumbs up.
Mike, I have a question. Are you asking for permission or forgiveness? Like, because, you know, are you like from your social circles, like, are you just putting them in and then like, if they say, you know, don't put me on the list, you're just asking for forgiveness, my apologies, or you just going and taking it and run with it?
Taking it and running with it, and yeah, asking for forgiveness or removing them if they ask to be removed, but not asking them specific permission to add them. You know, we have their information, and these are going to be people like, if it's somebody that is like you're CC'd on an email and you don't know these other people, I wouldn't classify that as sphere. You may still take their information and just classify that in your non-met database. But for specifically sphere, if they know you, I'm not asking them their permission. They know me. I want to make sure I'm presenting them enough value that they're not going to want to unsubscribe, or it's not going to be weird when I reach out to them. So yeah, I would say it's not a permission thing. It would be forgiveness.
At the very least, Trina, friend them on Facebook. You know, friend them on Facebook or social media, whatever. Start stalking them that way. It's public information, and that's a great way to do it.
Yep. We got to build it, because as we get through the material today, you'll see the more people that we have in our database that we have their information and contact information for, that we can touch through all measures of touching, the bigger our business will be. So we do need to build that list. It's not going to build itself. And these are some great ways of, you know, creating the ideas to how to do it. All right. So with Sphere, we have past clients, or we have forever clients. So I've been guilty for a number of years we all call them past clients. They're our past clients, right? Well, if we call them past clients, that's what they will become, past clients, right? If we look at them a little bit differently, these are our forever clients, right? So we have to really be cognizant of, you know, treating them like a forever client. They're not in the past. We're not forgetting about them. They are different from Sphere though, right? Sphere of influence is separate from a past client. Past clients can become sphere of influence, but they are different. All right, so your sources matter of who's your forever client versus your sphere of influence. So it's going to be very critical that we track them appropriately. So just some ways and strategies that we found tracking to be helpful for us. Every lead should have a source, and no import or unknown don't count as sources, right? So if you're taking a big database and importing it in and it's like unknown, like find the source. It's going to be imperative that you clean up your database to really find the source, because the different marketing tactics and strategies that we reach out to them are going to be different. SOI is going to get a higher and greater frequency of touch, and they're going to get more value in addition to our forever clients. versus, folks that are just new leads that we haven't met before.
Something I started doing a while ago too, Michael, was super sourcing them, because it's easy just to say family or restaurant or gym. Like, what was the super source of it? So is it family through your mom's side? Is it family through your dad's side? Is it the gym that you go to on Pratt Street, or is it a gym that you go to on Owings Mills? Like, super source it. And then you're like, well, if I'm getting leads and relationships from the gym on Pratt Street, guess where I'm going from now on?
Absolutely. And right down below, the last one, keep notes on leads, secondary sources,
Yeah.
give yourself more details and context, the name of the person that referred you. If you go through our database, you can see the folks that have referred the most amount of people. Like, well, it says like this lead is a referral. Great. I want to know who referred it, so we know who our biggest fans are. Right. So when it comes to tracking, sources matter. Take the extra time to set up your database to get that additional source in there, because that's going to be imperative again when communicating to your database. All right. So we have, let's see, some metrics to follow here, and this is why your database, which we like to call our data bank, right? Because the more folks that we have in our data bank, the more money that will come from it. So if we had a goal of $10 million in volume strictly from SOI, right? We're going to do other business. We're going to do circle prospecting. We're going to do internet leads. But $10 million of volume in just SOI, and we had an average sales price of $330,000. That means 30 units can come from our SOI if we are converting at a 18% conversion rate, which has been our team's conversion rate with SOI. We would need 167 folks within the SOI database, right? And if you want to do the math on that at a 2.5% commission on 330, it's 8,250. So essentially $250,000 can come from our SOI annually if we're being purposeful about building that list, right? Getting it to 167 and creating the consistent communication out to them. All right, so it's not your database, it's your data bank. What should you know at the minimum about your data bank? So who can tell me how many people are currently in their database or data bank, right? How many are past clients, AKA forever clients? How many are Mets versus non-Mets? When was your last touch with them? When's your next touch going to be? And what are some heartstring facts? Chris, what do we mean about heartstring facts there?
Birthdays, dog name, kid name, where they like to go on vacation, their anniversary of their purchase date or their sell date, things that matter, really, honestly, that you can have meaningful relationships with.
It goes back to all being a conversion conversation. As much as we want to think or don't want to think about it, that's what it is. And we want to do more business. We want to grow our business. We want to create more opportunity for other members on that join our team. How do we do that? We have to be able to grow our data bank and make it rain, right? And make it rain through the folks within our data bank and become a rainmaker, right? That's what it's about. All right. So there's a variable number in there on conversion. So how do we get 18% conversion on SOI? So Chris.
Yeah, I mean, contacting them. Well, first, I mean, just like Michael was saying, is, have their name, their email, their phone number, their address, their heartstring facts somewhere. Doesn't matter where it's at. If it's a piece of paper that you keep in your pocket or in your CRM, like something that you can track and this information about these folks, and that you're friends with them on all your social channels. You want to see what they're doing and they want to see what you're doing. So if we can relate to them, they just went to Mexico, text them. I saw you guys went jet skiing. That looked badass. Like, how was that? That goes a long way, just like little texts like that. And then we're contacting them 10 to 13 times per year. One of them is a Valentine's Day thing. That's one of your 10 to 13 right there. That's not about real estate. And then we keep track of it and have a next touch date with every contact. And we know next month we're going to talk to them about X.
Yep. Love it. And I would say, like, some of us might be familiar with like a 33 or 36 touch system. Like the 10 to 13 times are going to be actual, like, of that touch system. Those are going to be like voice touches. or, two-way conversations, not just like sending them out an email as a touch or sending something in the mail without a response, like 10 to 13 two-way conversations. That's a contact, two-way conversation, right? All right, so when we look at the conversion strategy here, and we look at, on the left side, the impact of speed to response on lead conversion. So we often talk about speed to lead, and I would say it's speed to response, because sometimes the lead comes in and there's communication, and then there's another response. Like, how quickly are we responding on that two-way lead after it's come in or once it's in our database? And we know that our chance of conversion increases if we are responding within 5 minutes, right? And significantly decreases if it's within 30 minutes. So if a company, it's a 100x rule, and if a company attempts to phone contact within 5 minutes after the lead submissions, the odds of that lead being contacted are 100 times greater than if it was contacted 30 minutes after submission. So it's an incredible, it's a Harvard Review study. It's an incredible statistic on the speed to response. So we want to be very conscious of that when we're in that, we're in that response mode. And the median response time is 3 hours and 8 minutes. And believe it or not, 47% never respond at all. So the importance of follow-up, 2% of all sales are made on the first contact, right? And that's where most of us stop. Like, we're playing that 2% game. 3% on the second, 5% on the third, 10% on the fourth. And if we look at the next, 80% of all sales are made between the 5th and 12th contact, yet we tend to stop at 1 and 2. So we just want to bring this front of mind to be consistent, right? Be consistent. If we send out something to our database, or we're sending them a message and they may not respond, like, that's okay. We just want to remember to be consistent with that, right? All right. And leads are people too. So don't treat them like another number in the database. We want to be personable with our conversation. And we have the manifester herself coming back from Manifest Your Best 2022.
Mike and I are going to cuddle through today. We're going to teach like this,
Amazing.
cheek to cheek.
Love it. For those that were on the session today, earlier or in person, it was freaking amazing. I just got to give you a high five.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
like,
Was
crushed
it
it.
I
good?
learned a lot.
Oh,
Crush
thank
it.
you.
Was that recorded by any chance?
It was recorded.
Okay.
Really? It was good, Mike?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Aw,
Yes.
When you say I did a great job, that makes the whole world worth it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Good. We'll talk more about it later.
Cool.
But now I'm going to take all that energy and probably start busting into here. So if you guys have been enjoying Mike so much, I can't promise it's about to get a little spicy now.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. So another way of looking at it, for every $88 spent on leads, $1 is spent on conversion, right? So if we're going to spend the money on the leads, we need to be prepared to spend the time on the conversion.
And I think really, and this is something, if you guys were in the class, you heard us talk about today, but what questions do you have to ask yourself when you're looking at these conversion strategies and you're looking at where you're investing your money in lead spend and where we're investing our money from a standpoint of the pockets that we're going to work, like in action? Well, then when you actually look in those conversions and you actually look at what it takes, right? Ask yourself the questions. Do I know how many leads are there? Do I know how many of those leads already have next touch dates or tasks associated to them? Am I aware of who's holding those leads accountable, right? Like, start asking just those questions before you invest more money or waste other things that just distract you. That's really what this is about. The least amount of pockets you're working and the more focus you have and the more you know the data and the conversion and all the elements around how much you're spending, how much that spend is giving you back in result, that's really where your magic's going to come, because the more you're stretching yourself in different things, it's much more challenging to really get that high return.
Yep. Love it. And so we're having an SOI conversation, and this conversion conversation is the same with SOI. So whether it is a spend that we're making to send out the hearts, these hearts are great, and the spend is actually it's pretty reasonable. What's it, $1 from Dollar Tree?
The whole packet's probably maybe $3.
$3 and then plus shipping, right? However, if we're not doing what's necessary to follow up and do the other pieces, if you remember, there's a 5-week strategy, then we're missing the point. We can't just mail this out to them and expect it to have the same result. It's being personable with them through this process, and an opportunity for us as Matt shared, to connect with their kids. If the kids are going to be designing these and submitting them and making the contests like that, as Debbie shared, being personable about the cards, whatever that might look like, but, taking the opportunity and not just make the first contact, making 4 to 5 contacts minimum.
And there is a call to action that we put on ours that isn't printed yet. It says, it's something along the lines of, who do you know that has some sweet real estate needs this year? Something along that. We'll post it in the Facebook group, but make sure you have some sort of call to action on there too.
Yes. All right. So, so where do you start? Where do I start if we have a couple different categories here? If you've never contacted your SOI, or it's been a long, long time, you want to call through everyone on your SOI list and check and update their contact information. So this is a good opportunity to check in and let them know, asking them first, hi, how are you? How's the fam? I'm in the process of updating. You can be very, we've gotten those calls before from other places or folks that are updating their information. And I want to make sure I have the correct information for you, right? And start there to make sure that you are building your SOI. This is a great exercise that we give all new agents that are getting into the business, to make a list of folks that they would invite to their wedding is the exercise we give them. And then if they don't have their contact information, reach out and let them know that they are getting into real estate, they're joining a team, they have a great resources behind them, and they would like to get their contact information. Most everybody is willing to share that. All right, so if you only contact your SOI on holidays, here's your next step. To build a plan to call them at least once every quarter and contact them in some other way, email, text, or social media at least once a month. So it is helpful to set up in your CRM, or if it's, again, a Google Sheet, your next touch date of when you are touching your SOI in that particular person. So if it's basic Excel, having some columns of the months and quarters and a simple check mark or next mark, that it's been completed. And then lastly, if you're contacting them pretty consistently now, start building events and pop-bys to see them in person and to continue that engagement. So if you're in communication with them, then take it to that next level. It's hard to go from never contacting them before to, oh, I'm throwing an event. There's a little bit of that pathway to get there. And this is what it looks like. So you have your quarterly call, you have a holiday touch, your social convo, and then social post. So you're constantly having a roadmap to getting communication, and then you can invite them to a client event.
And I think the big thing here is that what Michael is articulating is you need to meet yourself where you are, right? So if you don't have your SOI at all together, let's get it together. If you're touching to whatever degree, take what we're teaching you in today's class, and we're giving you guys multiple different ways to touch SOI. At the end of class, you are going to get a plethora of SOI resources as well, different event models, different social models, step-by-step plans, keys to simple social execution, things like that. So we're taking you through the journey right now, yet ultimately what we want you each to hear in this is, where am I today and what am I going to do next with my SOI to enhance my conversion?
Yeah, I think it seems a little scary if you don't have your SOI like completely looking good to do like 10 times. To me, that seems like holy crap. But if you just start with like a smaller list and start touching them even once a quarter, once a month, it gets a lot easier. And once you do it consistently, it starts to rain quickly.
And no matter what condition it is going to perform. If you ask this handsome guy right here, what's the one thing in his business missing? He's going to tell you what? His database. That's what it is. He doesn't think he has a database. However, he does have a database of 35,000 people, with 28,000 of them having full contact information. Yet in his mind, because he does not clearly know all of his SOI to perfection and their last touch, he doesn't have a database. So I'm sharing this vulnerably with you guys again, because yet we have 212 listings and 90% of them came from that SOI that we don't have, right? So of course, those people are in there. We tell ourselves stories all the time. That's why I'm having fun with this. Whatever you have in whatever condition it's in, there's something you can do with it.
Definitely.
And judge your spreadsheet, judge your CRM, remove it, and just take action and watch what happens.
Don't let too much time get away and try to do it at the end. have the opportunity of doing it. It's never going to get easier as you continue to do more business and your business grows. So it's picking your head up and saying, okay, I'm going to be purposeful and start now. All right. So perking your sphere, how to perk your sphere. So what we want to do to perk our sphere. Yes. We want to develop a strategy of what's going to work for us. Communicate your big why to your sphere. Folks want to know that. What your social friending, when you're social friending and following game, right? So being purposeful as we're meeting with folks, making room. I know, and I've ran into issues with reaching a max and then having to clean that up later, not having the space. But Chris, you've done this at a really high level. Having that initial conversation, friending them on Facebook, and starting that social relationship there.
Yeah.
And then applying the social warming cycle that we showed you guys, right? So once you have this and you begin to perk the sphere, then you get the comments, then you go to DMs. How are you? How's the fam? Chris might share some on that if he hasn't already. And then you take them into the database with those next touches. And now you have additional people layering into that SOI. I don't know if you guys mentioned it, but I am just going to say here, there is the differentiation that people want to know of, SOI and past, or I like to call them forever clients, are different people. Okay, there is not like this one bunch of SOI and everyone under the rainbow's SOI. You really do want to get in a better relationship with who you're speaking to, because then you can yield a result faster. And so an SOI, by the definition we're going to work together on, is somebody who is in relationship with us, and we could call them and email them and they would know who we are, yet they have not actually transacted with us before. And then that SOI then either will eventually transact with us and turn into a forever client, or they could become an SOI advocate, which means that there's someone who potentially does not buy, sell, or invest directly with us. However, they become a referral source in which every family member or church friend they give you because they love what you do.
Yeah.
Right. So start to differentiate that, and then take your past client or your forever client database, which is the people who have worked with you. And these people can be pocketed into being treated similarly, right, into this world. But there is a differentiation that you want to know between what you're perking. It's different to perk someone who has never transacted with you versus your forever client that you have in this, for most of you, same bucket. Absolutely.
I have somebody in SOI that has probably sent me over 10 referrals in the past 3 years or so. And in addition to team member referrals as well, has yet to do a transaction with us. Mm-hmm. And if I only loved on my forever clients and neglected SOI, I wouldn't have, that relationship I do with this particular referral source. So just to reiterate, it's so important to have that a separate strategy, because most of us want to go to forever clients versus other folks that have the ability to refer multiple, folks to us throughout the year. Posting consistently, part of our strategy. Comment on others' posts. Follow social warming cycle, as we discussed before. Having those client events, strategically gift giving or Popeyes, and sending notes
from the heart.
Yep. If I can jump in on the strategically gift giving, I had 2 referrals recently from SOI, and the one, I sent her a taco kit and said, let's talk about how awesome you are. Super easy. It was $10 from Amazon. And then the other one, I sent him some socks that said, if you can read this, bring me a beer. $8 on Amazon. And they've never done business with me, either one of them, but they're referring me. So you also want to reward that referral, just so they remember you in the future.
Is anybody familiar with the book Perk Your Sphere? Okay, so I'll just share about it because it's a system that was created to acknowledge, and it's through actually coffee card giving, right? Whether it's Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. Starbucks actually has a great corporate way of doing this. We do this within the team. As you get a referral, you can email them a gift card that you can actually have your team gift card made with logo and everything like that they have, and you can send it to them and it stays with them at all times. Or to do it quickly, you can do it through email, and they get a $10 gift card when they do send a referral, no matter if that person works out or not, if they're qualified or not, if they decide to list or not. And then upon closing, that turns into a $25 which is the max of gift card that we can send, right? So we're acknowledging the behavior, rewarding the behavior, and then upon closing, we have an opportunity to talk to them and touch them. So when we are getting referrals, it's good to let them know. Some people send referrals, we handle it, we get it done, we're rock stars, and we never tell the person that referred us how things went throughout the way.
Yeah.
And there's a huge opportunity to let those folks know, remember Chris, who you referred me? I just want to let you know, I met with him yesterday. They have an amazing house, awesome family. We're going to get started and get their house on the market in the next couple of weeks. And then give them a call back and say, hey, just want to send you the link to Chris's house. It just went on the market. Looks great. If you know anybody, tell your friends. Chris's house went under contract, and then Chris's house closed. So you have some really, quick touch points that you can make throughout the process. And they could go one step further. For the person that introduced me to Chris, I can reach out to them and say, hey, Sean, remember you introduced me to Chris? I just want to say thank you because Chris introduced me to Matt, and Matt just listed his house. And if it wasn't for that relationship with Chris, I wouldn't know Matt was ready to list his house. Right. So it can go, above and beyond. And then Sean's like, man, I didn't even realize that, but like, I appreciate it. And he feels good about it. So there's different ways of really going deep with your sphere. And especially when it comes to referrals, because that ultimately, as we know, is that backbone to our business.
What was that, like 6 touches?
Yeah.
For one lead?
Yep.
Yep. Super easy.
All right. So what does that do? It fills your people's piggy banks. Like people want to, be filled. Like when they do send a referral, it's, they want to know what happened to it. Like when we send a referral, like we want to know, like how things went when you make an introduction rather to somebody. Like we make introductions all the time. So what are ways we can fill people's piggy banks? That is one way. And like knowing how to fill their bank, like how many coins does it take? Before you can make a withdrawal, we got to give to get.
Yeah, I think the thing that's really important is you want to imagine that your database is a bunch of piggy banks running around all around you, and you have a hammer, and you're the person who every day goes and puts more piggy banks out, and you go and you're cracking empty piggy banks, right? You have one conversation with somebody and you go crack the piggy bank, right? You don't even get them on the phone. They say that they have a house to buy, and already by text message, you're ready to close them. So like, how do you actually learn that what you're doing here is building emotional capital with people? And it takes a series of deposits to build emotional capital in which someone will trust you enough and be in enough rapport with you that you can make a difference for them. And so if you're thinking about your SOI and you're thinking about your touches and you're looking at how much time it takes to get your, popcorn popping in a sense, right? You want the come list me's, this is how you do it. When the piggy bank is full, the piggy squeaks. When the piggy bank is empty and you crack it, well, how much harder it is. That goes back to what we've been talking to you guys about, 1,000 people once or 100 people 10 times. How do you focus on literally filling 100 piggy banks versus trying to get a penny in one of each all around you, right? That's really the philosophy here. And then really being conscious of when you have conversations. So I'll just go back to this. It's a helpful example with Chris. Chris is so deep in his SOI conversations. And I think we mentioned in a class, but not yet in the group coaching. Yet when we looked at his conversion of SOI of his business, it's extraordinarily high, but he was not getting a high amount of SOI referrals, especially based on the amount of SOI conversations he was having. So, when Chris and I were analyzing and looking at the data and we caught that, what you realize is if you're having the conversations and you're not getting the result, what's happening? You're usually not asking, or there's something missing in the conversation, right? There's a gap. So Chris looked at that, analyzed it, and all of a sudden, Chris started filling the gap with the question and asking of referrals and other people. And just in such a short time, there's so many examples. We'll save the time. We have a lot of slides. There's many examples in just a little bit of time that Chris has been applying it, that SOI that he was already talking to is now referring where it wasn't, because he just wasn't asking, but they were happy to, because he's loving on them like, yeah, he's shitting on them. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trina, your hand is raised.
I just wanted to back to really having advocates like for your SOI. There is one particular advocate I have, and he's never done business with me, but he is responsible for over 30 pieces of business probably in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
He has about 6 other realtors in his neighborhood that he could refer business to, but he just doesn't. And it's because I follow up with him, I follow through, I'm accountable to him. And then I reward him for sending me, whether it's pouring into the neighborhood or buying something for him. But he's been advocate. He's never done business with me, but he's just like, you just do a good job. And I also wanted to say, I thank you guys for clarifying what the SOI is, because sometimes you mix them together. And so the SOI was somebody who we knew that hasn't actually done business with us, not our forever clients.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. I love it. And so here you guys are just taking what you're looking at right now. These are some models and these are going to be given to you as well. But imagine here's your coins, right? So you are just taking these coins and you are popping them into your piggy banks, everybody. All right. And so here's touches for an example of a client for life program, right? From your appointment held to 5 years past close. And then here's an SOI looking at a January to December, right? So here's your piggy bank and here's your deposits. It's that simple. It's just a plan. And if you guys take a quick second to look at this, most of this can be automated. I think we might actually share some of that with you today. Yet, even if you're doing it on your own, it's not a tremendous amount of time to do this to, let's say, those 100 people that you need to touch 10 times, right?
Yep. So gift giving. So what Jen was sharing about is like, the ways of, that's your schedule of touching, and how are we going to do that? So gift giving is very, goes a long way. And new job, baby, engagement, settlement gifts. We see sometimes, unfortunately, deaths in the family, ways that we can show that we are interested and that we care, that we are being personable, and ultimately gifts that can be sticky and give experiences, not consumables, are often helpful to think about.
Something, okay.
Go ahead.
Something with gift giving that I've just seen trend on is, a lot of people who are doing this inconsistently are moving, inconsistency, are moving away from it being so brand obnoxious. And they're doing things that are a little bit more brand agnostic, yet people are utilizing as like everyday things. And especially gift giving, where people would see something cool and say like, oh, where's that from? And then they say, oh, it's my realtor, but it does not say the Schiff Home Team on it, right? It may have a symbol, it may have an icon, it may have something. And sometimes it has nothing. It's just so memorable that every time that person uses it, right, they're going to think of you. So start to get a little bit more open-minded in the type of branding and gift giving you do. The other thing that's really fun with gift giving from the psychological standpoint is most people, and especially realtors, and I heard an example of this recently, will just give on like holidays and things like that at the specific times. And the way to be a surprise gift giver is just to give at random times, right? So not when they're getting 7,000 other gifts from people, but like if everyone else is gifting on Christmas, then like you should be gifting before Thanksgiving and doing gratitude gifts versus holiday gifts, right? If you know that everybody's probably hitting them up in the beginning of summer with like ketchup and mustard and relish, well then like what are you doing to go be different at a different time when the realtors went on vacation in July and no one's talking to them, right? So again, just start to think about ways to do it. Hey, Kevin, do it at times that people are not expecting it. It's the element of surprise. And like, it's not the level of gifting you give. It could be $1. Like this says, it's not the thought that counts, it's the thoughtfulness. You're looking to pull at heartstrings and build emotional capital. That is the only purpose of that, right? And then to share the message that other people can see and get more recognition for you too by them sharing.
Yep. I think a good example, Jen, of gift giving and branding at the Oriole game. So like back in the day, the giveaways they would do to get people in the door were kind of crappy. And there was these giant logos on there and it would say like, M&T Bank or something like that. And then they started doing like really cool giveaways, like jerseys and like bats and stuff like that. And now the logos are like the size of a penny and people wear them. And that gets thousands of people in the door for giveaway night. And people remember it.
Such a good example.
Yep.
All right. So how do we win the follow-up game? And if you are like me, you have many people in your database and you're like, all right, how do I manage and keep track of all this and sell houses and run the business and operate a family and all those things that happen, right? So there are systems available to automate this process and still make it personable if you're willing to slow down and put in the proper information that needs to go into the system. So Jen, you can actually speak to this as far as what Manifest has really built out for automation of like loving on our sphere.
Oh, sure. Okay. So just to kind of keep it at a water ski right now, and we're happy to have any one-on-one conversations with someone if this interests them. But we've just chosen, there are a few different platforms, right? So we can give you guys other recommendations as well. However, we have chosen to work with one of the automated gifting platforms, and we basically built up a system that has a few different plans in it, either like the client for life, or when it's a new client, or your different like breakdowns based on how you have your database set up. And if you connect it to your CRM, we automatically will gift. So we have ways to set up in your system that if you're putting things in the CRM correctly, based on how they're in the CRM and these plans you associate to, there's these automated gifting and card programs that go out. You know, they range probably between carding and gifting, like $50 to $100 a database client per year to execute a full plan. I mean, you could just do birthday cards through it and that would be significantly less, but we'll look at some of the data with you. It does really cost on average. And when I look at different teams' data that are doing this, they're usually in the $50 to $90 range per database contact that they're attempting this WOW system around. So that's just a good benchmark for you to look at. And again, we can talk to you more, but what you're looking at right now is just a completely automated process based on predefined steps and triggers through the technology in a sense,
Yep.
right?
I think the difference between like the ones that are on the market and this one is they're sticky. If we go back to sticky, like the other ones can be a little bit like broad and boring and lame. This one, just the brief that I've seen it the other day was much more creative and getting people's attention and being remembered. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, even just like if you do one from like appointment set to like forever client, so it's like appointment set to a 5-year close, like while you're pending, it sends them chocolate covered pretzels and says, you know, the state can get you tied up in knots, like we're here every step of the way, you're halfway there, you know, it just talks to people and like meets the emotion where it's at each step of the way. So yeah, we have spent some time to customize and build it. There are other systems, yet what we just want to show you here is there is the possibility of gifting automation, and there's the possibility of scaling and just streamlining this for you. It doesn't have to become another job just to manage SOI. There's leverage resources for everything. There's even people who will go drop off your Popeyes. So you just have to have those conversations, right? And there you go. Speaking of Popeyes.
Yeah. So for Popeyes, opportunities to get face-to-face with our sphere. We have holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, Valentine's Day, etc. So there are, you know, folks that are familiar with Buffini. Buffini has been the master of this, of like really creating that Popeye system and making it clever around each and every holiday and an opportunity to go out there. And we like to go out there and visit them at their place of work or business because as you're going there and you're giving it to them, then they have all their coworkers around them that are like, who was that? And where did that come from? And then it opens up more conversation.
Chris, tell us about the magic of that personal note card.
It goes a long way. I mean, the percentage of people doing that is slim to none. So really taking the time just to write a personal note card. The big thing that I think works often with this is after listing appointments, is sending people a handwritten note, even if you don't get the listing. I sent someone not too long ago, I didn't get the listing, and I sent them a gift card to Starbucks anyway and said, thank you for the opportunity. If there's anything I can help you with in the future, I would love to be a resource. So just purposeful note cards to people that you're working with in your sphere, friends, family, goes a long way. Okay,
So as you're warming up your sphere, as you're perking your sphere and you want to take it to that next level, client events like Forever Client and SOI events, great opportunities. The past couple of years, it's been a little tricky. However, we've been able to navigate the process. And it just depends what that looks like. Recently, there's been some in the office craft events that we've done. There was the Friendtoberfest, which was cool. So we did some cool pumpkin carving. In the spring, we did a birdhouse event where you kind of assemble a birdhouse and you know, we did it in our office space. But that's an idea. And we've done events from, you know, renting out the Senator and having a private showing of Frozen 2 when it just came out. and we're able to get 600 some people at the movies for that, which was a big hit. It's hard to fathom that, that was a thing back then.
Yep.
Sardined into the lobby.
Right.
And look at this model right here. I just have to point out everybody because that's just a great picture. I mean, model.
Around these events, there's opportunity for 5, 6, 7, 8 touches.
Yep.
Very easy.
And with the events, as you probably saw, that we've also partnered with different charities of either bringing gifts or socks. We had Toys for Tots, socks for Socktober as well. And it's an opportunity to get behind when we talk about like sharing your big why or what you do, or being able to leverage our business and our database to impact community. It's just a huge opportunity, and folks really like to get behind that. So keep that in mind as you are planning those events of what organization can you get behind to support.
So I also think just a couple of things on the SOI events that is helpful for everyone if you are just getting started. So your event, if it has 10 people, is a win. So I would say like that's really like the starting point. 10, if 5 is a win too, but like go for 10, right? So if you're just going to start somewhere, and this is new, we're talking about 600 person events, multiple 100-person events. I do not need to overwhelm you with that. 10 people is a great start. We actually like the more intimate events because then we have the opportunity to connect with people. Our database has just grown so big that when we host events and we don't invite this certain group of people, then how come I get invited and you didn't invited? So that's where the big ones come in. But the intimate ones are really what is important and will get you the most reward at first. I think the other thing that's important for you guys around events is that events don't have to be paid for through you, right? So you do have the ability to work with your partners and work with your sponsors on the events. If we told you how much the events we have hosted in the last 5 years have cost and the amount of money that we have personally written out of the Schiff Home Team for that, you would probably be blown away. And I will say that about 90% of all our events that we have ever hosted, all the really big ones, everything gets sponsorship. So we're not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year having events. We are partnering and bringing intrinsic value through these sponsorship relationships, and that's how we are able to do them. So again, just a couple things. Party of 10 is good enough, and like from an investment standpoint, you can get it covered by partners, and we can talk about that more. We're putting a couple tools in here for you. There is going to be an event spreadsheet planner that we're giving you. There is an event checklist that we're providing you guys to use as part of the systems for this. And we're giving you guys a complete touch campaign from invitation through post event that shows you when you and your agents should touch people around invitations, RSVPs, non-responses, day of events, confirmations, post events, everything. So we're really going to give you guys event in a box in a sense to get you up and running. So just wanted to give some of that.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's
Roadmap.
Yep. Right. The checklist system was created and perfected as a result of things being off that checklist over a series of events. So that is like a fast path to success. And then we, as far as like mini competitions that you can run on Facebook, there's some examples of that, giving away tickets, and doing the mugs during the spring and Mother's Day. So like engaging your sphere with that. So it doesn't always have to be, in the office or like at a place. You can do it as, with these Popeyes, with the
hearts.
The hearts. Yep. All right, so for our plan for lead generation success. So for SOI, who will answer and who will be an ally? Let's see. So what type of conversation do we start with them? Like that is going to be forward, right? We're familiar with that. Chris, I think you sent the how's the family text out recently. You want to tell that quick story quickly?
I didn't get past F.
How's the fam? And then what happened?
Yeah, it was just a simple text message. I shared this in the class this morning if anyone was there. It was just a how's the fam. I was going through my texts yesterday, like my contact list, and just texting folks and past client, how's the fam? Awesome, doing good, just had a baby, great. Oh, by the way, my brother's buying a house. I'll hook you guys up. Pretty simple. I think the misconception is we need to write these long paragraphs of like to people, but a simple little house of fam is much more effective.
Yep. Perfect. So right
Yeah.
there, social, don't be creepy, do your homework, have purposeful combos. Whether it's nurturing, you're just focused from hot to cold, like who needs to be moved forward, provide valuable pieces of information to them. And, moving them forward, just one more notch on that ladder. And no cards, selecting from your connections, be intuitive, listen to opportunities in your conversations to list on their no card. Congratulate somebody, wish somebody good luck, goes a very long way. All right, then, part of the SOI plan is stalking your feeds for signs of a move. What would be some signs of a move?
I actually had an example about a year ago, and one of my friends wrote on Facebook, "I hate my neighbor." Seriously, no joke. And I messaged him, "You should move." Bought a house.
Look for the signs. So life events, hate your neighbor, having a baby, right?
Yard sale.
Yard sales, yeah, like, stalk your feeds for the signs of those move, and then, move into those conversations. Do people know your big why, right? People want to be connected to you. People want to be connected, to the genuine person that you are. And are you communicating that? People want to support other people's businesses that are more about material things and just, making sure they're getting their realtors going on vacation every month, right? Like, what are you connected to? That's going to go a long way to, connect to something with family, whether it's through a charity, nonprofit, something like that, that will help bring more connection to you than just material things. We've done this. I'm not sure if anybody else has. I'd be interested to hear how your story went. Creating a Facebook group for your communities, right? If you live in an HOA, there's one way of doing it, of like
1.4.
being the, what's that?
We have 1,400 in our Be More community.
1,400. So I was just going to give a simple, if your neighborhood association doesn't have an HOA, like help create that and be the person that is on that and providing value within your HOA. But more importantly, through your like SOI and through your VIPs and your forever clients, create like we have our team pages and our personal pages, but create a private Facebook group for your communities that you can pour into.
I'd say the more niche you can get with this, the better. And if there is one in your community, make another one. Maybe it's golfers of Turf Valley. Maybe there's a Turf Valley one, maybe it's golfers of Turf Valley, or there's a Baltimore City one. Great, Sobo of Baltimore City. So things like that, the more niche you can get with it, the better it is.
Curious to know, does anybody run a Facebook group now for like a VIP for their team or within a community? All right, so awesome opportunity, highly recommend it. And as we've been talking about before, like Messenger is king. Like Messenger is, folks are on Facebook. There's a dopamine that goes off to them when they get a message through Messenger versus strictly, text. So great opportunity to, connect with folks and see when they're online. We talked about the green light, like see when they're online in order to, get them while they're in front of their phone or in front of their computer.
Yeah, the big thing here with SOI is SOI tends to have a lot of people that know you that you don't talk to often, right? So what is the least resistant modality to any communication just right now in the culture? It is Messenger. Like you can reach out in Messenger to somebody that you have not spoken to since preschool and you guys could say words and they will be so excited to hear from you. If you try to call that person or text them, they're going to be like, why the F is Jen Schiff texting me right now? But all of a sudden Messenger, you're in the utopia of like magic. So it is crazy. It is a real thing though. So please lean into it, right? So. Yeah. You want to get into SOI, use Messenger. There's no one there who is unhappy to hear from you on Messenger.
Cool. Seeing some head nods on that. That's good. All right. So through this process, the reason why SOI is so important, it's that work smarter, not harder. We want to pay special attention to our low hanging fruit. So we want to be able to get the highest producing referrals sources. Get your highest producing referral sources, as Trina shared, as Chris shared, to give you more names. So once you have your sphere loaded into your CRM, tag 3 VIPs to give extra love to this year. We call them bays. VIP is another good term for them. like they're not going to be, you don't need 160 some VIPs in there. These are probably 3 to 5 people that are going to send multiple pieces of business that you're going to want to, give extra love to. So some notes on how to determine your VIPs, ranking your SOI and forever clients first, and how many referrals they sent you within your team. This is why sourcing your business is so important. And that secondary source of who referred them to you is important. Next, you want to rank in order how often you speak with them about real estate or the last time you spoke with them. And your forever clients should be ranked above SOI because you have already developed a business relationship with them. They know how it is to work with you, unless you're actively speaking with any of your SOI about buying, selling, or investing. So people that already know or have a business relationship with you will rank up top. And next, rank them by the last time you spoke to them in general. Right. So this is important to know how frequently, last time you spoke and then next time. And then lastly, rank in order of that likelihood. If asked, they give you 3 referrals in the calendar year. Like that's kind of the minimum standard for them to be on your VIP list. Like 3 referrals in a calendar year is going to be important, and focus those who are social and have a large network, people who are connectors, who live nearby, know lots of people. At the stage of buying, selling, investing. So, that's just kind of those are going to be your low hanging fruit. And some of these people can start as an internet lead. Chris, you have a great story from a Boomtown lead that came on, and, we may not think that this would be our sphere of influence because they started as an internet lead, but talk to us about the development of that lead.
Serge is my boy.
Serge.
He's the never ending Boomtown lead. I don't know the dollar amount offhand. It's probably maybe more like $10 million in business. All of his police officer friends in Baltimore City, he's referred me to. And it's been, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 transactions at least in the past 2 years. He's been great. He gets all of my forever gifts, personalized gifts, calls, texts, always. We're actually going out to dinner with, I didn't tell you this, Michael, him and the whole crew.
There you go.
And they have a yearly dinner. Who invites their real estate agent to their yearly friends dinner that they've known each other for 20 years? It just doesn't happen. So that's super exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And it was fun for me to watch the body language of everybody who is on video as Michael started to talk about paying attention to your low hanging fruit, and that the fact that there was planning that was involved in your communication and who you were going to communicate. And all of you who have been looking at us in the eyes the entire time couldn't look any more far left, right, and upside down than I'd ever seen anyone. I'm going to send us all the recording. So that's just a really good sign to watch, that when we start talking to you guys about the fact that a plan and some sort of system and some sort of level of exposure to what you're doing is really required, right? That's just really the key to it.
Love it. So speaking of planning, just a recap of, if you're in the process of sending out your wooden hearts and paint, your week 1 was to invite folks. Week 2 is to drop them off or drop them in the mail. So that's where we're at. Then to check in with the participants, with your folks to see how it's going. And tease the voting contest on social. And then before we know it, Valentine's Day is going to be here in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
I got 22 people to participate within an hour of messaging.
Nice.
1 hour, 22 participants. How
Right.
many coins do you think he gets to put in those piggy banks?
Yeah.
Right? How many touches are there just from that? And this also we're giving you today in all of the SOI systems. This is broken down for you guys also into a model, so you'll be able to take it.
All right. Yeah.
So here is just a recap of how you guys are going to have the ability to take everything that we're sharing with you and meet yourself where you are and use tools and systems to work through it so you can dominate listings through your SOI. So one thing I mentioned to you guys is the events checklist. So it's the things that we think are critical to a great experience that keep people coming back and wanting more. The next thing is the events planning spreadsheet. So this just shows you can use that, you can put it in your own systems, yet it's a model of what are all the components of an event down to who's attending and what's the budget and what's day of and all of the planning logistics. It's a true project map. You're going to get sample SOI and client for life rhythms. So we're going to show you and give you actual touch campaigns like we looked at as the coins being deposited into the piggy banks. So you guys can work and build those off of our samples. We're going to give you a project roadmap for planning and executing just marketing goals. So there's going to be some different mapping out that you can do to get clear on that as well. The guide to building your SOI database. So wherever you are in that journey, we're going to help you streamline and show you how to take the different pieces, organize it, the tech part. And then we're going to give you a how many SOI do I need in order to convert my business to whatever volume I want. So we're going to give you a worksheet to work through that. If there's anything, again, that you guys want support or want to ask about how we're automating or building it in Manifest Solutions, just reach out to us. And otherwise, there's a lot of tools in here that are going to get you guys into SOI action.
All right. We ran through some ahas from that with SOI. What's kind of going through your mind? What are some of your thoughts currently now?
So let me ask a different question. Would someone on the call be willing to share something that they are proud of that they do around SOI right now? Yes, Trina, go ahead. And then Dana, I'll get you next. I saw you on mute for a second. Yeah, go ahead, Trina.
Every year, the month of December, I sort of my lead generation isn't in around SOI. So I do a wine drop every year, but I make it really, really fun. So I wine drop, I take pictures, and people begin to look forward to they call it the wine fairy. So I just literally drop the bottle of wine on there, take a picture, post it on social media, and people have literally like, are you in my area? Are you coming to my house today? People have gotten, yeah, right. So that's what I've gotten to, they're used to receiving that.
That is so cool.
The
I
wine
love that.
fairy.
That's from the wine. That's neat. Dana, what was yours?
I think for me, I'm really purposeful about doing happy hours and things with my sphere. Not necessarily with the intention, well, as far as they know, of sitting down and talking about real estate. But when you go and sit down face to face with people, real estate will always come up. And I get a lot of referrals from my sphere just with those one-on-ones. So this year, my goal is to do a happy hour once a week and just be really purposeful about who I'm sitting down with. So
yeah, it's an incredible consistency rhythm.
Nice.
Please continue to share the results with us. Who else has something they are really proud of they do with SOI they want to share?
Big Matt.
I saw Matt come up. Matt, do you want to share something? Oh, you just wanted to show us.
Hmm.
Hi.
I was eating my lunch. I didn't want to have you watch me eat my lunch.
Well, we're so happy to see you now. Okay, so if there's anyone on the call who is able to get on video, who was not on video when we were teaching and plans to spend the next 16 minutes with us, I would ask that you do flip to video now, if possible. I know some of you had texted me and are in places that you cannot. What we want to do for the next 15 minutes is get into the conversation practice of SOI. And it's so wild to us that just everybody, it's not you, it is the entire industry. We tend to want to cold call before we talk to our SOI. And so today we're just going to break through it a little bit and start with just some super simple scripting that Chris is going to lead us through that's just going to blow your mind. And then I would love us to do a couple just actual SOI call conversations of like what it sounds like to just forge your way through asking and people asking you for an opportunity to talk about real estate. Like, how is work? How was the family? Done anything interesting in the last few months? Oh yeah, I bought my first investment property with my family. I'm so proud of it. Oh, that's really cool. I was thinking about investing, Chris. Okay, so shall we play? You guys ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. This was just kind of going back to also like stalking our SOI on Facebook. So really like a lot of the conversations that I'm having with folks to just peak conversations is one, always starting my day with happy birthdays. Always. That is the very first thing I do when I sit down at my desk is going through your Facebook friend list and wishing people happy birthday. And so when you're wishing people happy birthday, there's a couple different ways you can do it, not on their timeline, because everyone's doing that. So either private message them, Send them a video text or call them. People love personalized stuff, and that's just a good way to do it. Or stalk them like what they like. Like I send people Wu-Tang memes all the time for their birthday. And just things that they like, or like if they like Hello Kitty or something like that, find a funny picture, put a meme on it, happy birthday, now you're sticky. So that's a great one. And then also stalking them just on their feed. You know, I saw that your son, you know, John, he had that soccer game the other night. How'd that go? Very easy intro conversation. You know, how long you guys been doing soccer for, things like that. Those are opening conversations. Vacation, that's another one. How was Ocean City? Hopefully they're doing something cool at Ocean City. You know, how was Aruba? So you guys went snorkeling. I've always wanted to try that. How was it? So things like that are just quick, easy ways to perk your sphere. They're going to ask you how you are instantly. Be quick with it. You know, don't be super salesy or tell the world about like with every least little detail about yourself, but have a quick just response and then go make it about them again. And that's just a great way to just start perking your sphere. Michael, we were talking about the book, Never Eat Alone.
Yep.
That's if anyone's ever heard of that. And it's just a great way. I mean, you're having coffee probably once or twice a day. You're eating hopefully 2 or 3 times a day. And that's just a great way to say, hey, like, I'm going to be at Panera today. You want to come by and have lunch with me? Or I go to Starbucks on, you know, off of Route 40 every day at 10 o'clock. Want to join me for a coffee? So those are great ways to just like perk your sphere as well. You're not being salesy. You're getting them to engage with you. Quick, easy ways. Anything you'd add to that, Michael?
Yeah, I would just say the, you know, there's a good point that I wanted to bring up. Ways of, you know, it's staying front of mind. I kind of lost the train of thought, but give me a second. It was good. It was good. It was on a book. What book did you mention? Never Eat Alone?
Never Eat Alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, there's huge opportunity of, I lost the train of thought, but like I've done that before and have had a great amount of success. And we're, you know, if you find yourself, you know, by yourself, and you're eating alone, it's like, all right, well, what can I do to plan a little bit better? That like, you know, I'm being more purposeful with my time. Sometimes we need to, but there's other times, you know, when we get belly to belly with people, that's the best thing that we can do. And I'm curious, you know, who is very purposeful with this now, or who feels as though this is something that they can integrate into their business?
Yep. Anyone we haven't talked to as well, like Kelly or Deb or Kristen, Dana, I saw you come off, Trina.
All right, so it's creating a rhythm. It's like really like creating a rhythm with this, and making it happen. And you'll find that as you do it, the easier it gets. Right, as you're doing it, the easier it gets, and you know, that's where that magic happens. I mean, there's going to be the next classes. We're going to be going deeper on like the circle prospecting, because that is another, you know, pillar of our business. Internet lead generation is a pillar of our business. However, with Sphere, this is what we found, that the more we put into this, the more we get back out. And we can spend money on internet leads to the cows come home. And we may have a budget of, you know, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 20,000 a month. And what we found is when we repurpose that internet lead budget and we repurpose that into pouring into our Sphere with those surprise and delight gifts, with doing, you know, certain dinners or events. And even though some of those are sponsored, you know, for some of the mailings and whatnot, you know, you can take your top 20 people. Like I would keep it small, start with your top 20 people. And if it's $100 a year, right, to really love on your top 20 people, that's $2,000. That's $180 a month or less, right? That you're going to start with. And we're spending $1,000 a month on leads that they don't even know our name.
Or care.
Versus 20 people that would refer us in a heartbeat. And if we're sending them something quarterly or touching them 10 to 13 times a year purposely, like they are going to be our biggest advocates. So it's just kind of switching that mindset there.
Am I able to share my screen?
Should be able to. Yep.
Can you see it?
Yes.
You can see it? Okay, if everyone can see my screen, hopefully you can see this, Mike.
Yes.
Perfect. So this is something that I started doing with my SOI a few years ago. And it's been huge. And we talk about tracking our SOI and what we do with them. So if anyone wants to see this, I know it's kind of small, but basically, so this was everything that I did for my SOI last year, and I tracked them. So I gave them Old Bay, I gave them Pop Rocks, we did the Birdhouse event, we did a Mother's Day event, we invited people to the Orioles game, a newsletter / my real producer, what was it, the feature, thank you. Whoopee cushions I sent out, movie night, Friendtoberfest, gingerbread we did, and the shopping fair. So this is just tracking it to every least little thing that we did. And it wasn't everybody, obviously, but if they got invited to, if they came, if it was a maybe, if it was a no. And then going into 2022, this is S&D, is surprise and delight people. So just random surprise and delight that I want to keep track of. So someone had a baby, I gave them a onesie. Someone had gave me a referral, I sent them some socks. So those are just random surprise and delights that I've been keeping track of with my SOI. And then people got whisks this year, and it said whisking you a happy new year. So I just need to put in there who they went out to. This is Valentine's Day, things that people get invited to that I need to update this. And then the spring event, which we're doing a little bunny like workshop thing that people put together, like bunny planters. So these are already planned for Q1 that already know that my SOI is going to get touched. Not sure if anyone's doing something similar to this, but it's a great way to keep track of it.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Yep. So it's a system. It's having a system. Yep. It's having a system and, ways of tracking it. That's a Google sheet. So nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy there, but just a way of tracking it, getting your top people on there and making sure that you're getting your touches in. And when you plan and you're purposeful about it, that can all happen. You don't have to overthink it of where these people are going to come from. So it's taking that step back to build the list, categorize it properly, and then you can then go love on them. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Who's excited to jump into that? Who's excited? Kevin's excited. Who's excited to like categorize their database, and like 20 bays is a good starting point, 20 VIPs. For homework from here, I would request and ask that you take your database and, really put a star by your 20 VIPs that you're really going to track what they're doing and show them love over the next, over this year and forward after that. But let's start with this year and the ways that you can show them love.
Yep, super easy. Just pick 20 people. As we're getting to the end of the class, so still have the Cal text that you can send out, or car text, the moving text to reach out to people. Still have the Ford conversations you can have to people. Still have Valentine's Day stuff you can touch your sphere with, or start any sort of other event. Those are all just great ways that we've already given you, just simple texts and calls to send out to your people.
What questions do you guys have? You got a few minutes for a question and answer. Everybody good? All right. I would recommend everybody put in their activity numbers if they haven't done so already. Really want to kind of get an idea of where things stand as far as contacts, appointments set, held, and listings taken. and really have that accountability for the class. Most of these type of classes, you're on your own for that accountability, and we want to kind of bring that into perspective here. If you're not being held accountable by somebody else for those numbers, allow us to do that for this period of time and begin to build a habit around that, because those are the levers that move your listing business. And if we're not thinking about that, like if anything else, if you leave this class with anything else, it's with a habit of really tracking and measuring those levers.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. This has been a great one. Next week, we will go deeper into to circle prospecting. See everybody on Friday, tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday already.
Tomorrow is Friday. I didn't
Damn.
realize that.
8:30 for Power Up. We'll kind of reference back to Sphere again on Monday, and then Wednesday, and then back on Thursday. See you guys.
See you guys.